Alrighty, in this video lesson, we are going to work on taking our vowel sounds that we worked on last time, like O, U, E, and we're going to make our own words. So I have a little chart that we're going to work with after we read, and we're going to create our own words from different vowel beginnings and different vowel endings, and words that have vowels in the middle of them. But first, we're going to finish reading Frog and Toad that we started on our last video lesson, and we'll go from there. Chapter 3, Cookies. Toad baked some cookies. These cookies smell very good, said Toad. He ate one. And they taste even better, he said. Toad ran to Frog's house. Frog, Frog, cried Toad. Taste these cookies that I have made. Frog ate one of the cookies. These are the best cookies I have ever eaten, said Frog. Frog and Toad ate many cookies, one after another. You know, Toad, said Frog, with his mouth full, I think we should stop eating. We will soon be sick. You are right, said Toad. Let us eat one last cookie, and then we will stop. Frog and Toad ate one last cookie. There were many cookies left in the bowl. Frog, said Toad, let us eat one very last cookie, and then we will stop. Frog and Toad ate one very last cookie. We must stop eating, cried Toad, as he ate another. Yes, said Frog, reaching for another cookie. We will need power. What is willpower? Asked Toad. Willpower is trying hard not to do something that you really want to do, said Frog. You mean like trying not to eat all these cookies? Asked Toad. Right, said Frog. Frog put the cookies in a box. There, he said. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog tied some string around the box. There, he said. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can cut the string and open the box, said Frog to Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog got a ladder. He put the box up on a high shelf. There, said Frog. Now we will not eat any more cookies. But we can climb the ladder and take the box down from the shelf and cut the string and open the box, said Toad. That is true, said Frog. Frog climbed the ladder and took the box down from the shelf. He cut the string and opened the box. Frog took the box outside. He shouted in a loud voice, Hey birds, here are cookies! Birds came from everywhere. They picked up all the cookies in their beaks and flew away. Now we have no more cookies to eat, said Toad sadly. Not even one. Yes, said Frog, but we have lots and lots of willpower. You may keep it all, Frog, said Toad. I'm going home now to bake a cake. Chapter 4, Dragons and Giants. Frog and Toad were reading a book together. The people in this book are brave, said Toad. They fight dragons and giants, and they are never afraid. I wonder if we are brave, said Frog. Frog and Toad looked into a mirror. We look brave, said Frog. Yes, but are we? Asked Toad. Frog and Toad went outside. We can try to climb this mountain, said Frog. That should tell us if we are brave. Frog went leaping over rocks, and Toad came puffing up behind him. They came into a dark cave. A big snake came out of the cave. Hello, Lunch, said the snake. When he saw Frog and Toad, he opened his wide mouth. Frog and Toad jumped away. Toad was shaking. I am not afraid, he cried. They climbed higher, and they heard a loud noise. Many large stones were rolling down the mountain. It's an avalanche, cried Toad. Frog and Toad jumped away. Frog was trembling. I am not afraid, he shouted. They came to the top of the mountain. The shadow of a hawk fell over them. Frog and Toad jumped under a rock. The hawk flew away. We are not afraid, screamed Frog and Toad at the same time, and they ran down the mountain very fast. They ran past the place where they saw the avalanche. They ran past the place where they saw the snake, and they ran all the way to Toad's house. Frog, I am glad to have a brave friend like you, said Toad. He jumped into the bed and pulled the covers over his head. And I am happy to know a brave person like you, Toad, said Frog. He jumped into the closet and shut the door. Toad stayed in the bed, and Frog stayed in the closet. They stayed there for a long time, just feeling very brave together. The Dream, Chapter 5. Toad was asleep, and he was having a dream. He was on a stage, and he was wearing a costume. Toad looked out into the dark. Frog was sitting in the theater. A strange voice from far away said, "Presenting the greatest toad in all the world." Toad took a deep bow. Frog looked smaller as he shouted, "Hooray for Toad! Toad will now play the piano very well," said the strange voice. Toad played the piano, and he did not miss a note. Frog cried, "Can you play the piano like this?" "No," said Frog. It seemed to Toad that Frog looked even smaller. "Toad will now walk on a high wire, and he will not fall down," said the voice. Toad walked on a high wire. "Frog," cried Toad, "can you do tricks like this?" "No," peeped Frog, who looked very, very small. "Toad will now dance, and he will be wonderful," said the voice. "Frog, can you be as wonderful as this?" said Toad, as he danced all over the stage. There was no answer. Toad looked out into the theater. Frog was so small that he could not be seen or heard. "Frog," said Toad, "where are you?" There was still no answer. "Frog, what have I done?" cried Toad. Then the voice said, "The greatest toad will now—" "Shut up!" screamed Toad. "Frog, Frog, where have you gone?" Toad was spinning in the dark. "Come back, Frog," he shouted. "I will be lonely." "I am right here," said Frog. Frog was standing near Toad's bed. "Wake up, Toad," he said. "Frog, is that really you?" said Toad. "Of course it is me," said Frog. "And you are your own right size?" asked Toad. "Yes, I think so," said Frog. Toad looked at the sunshine coming through the window. "Frog," he said, "I am so glad that you came over." "I always do," said Frog. And then Frog and Toad ate a big breakfast, and after that they spent a fine long day together. Alrighty, so now that we're done reading Frog and Toad, we're going to work on another vowel vocabulary lesson. Obviously, in our last lesson, we learned a lot of words with beginning vowels and middle vowels like oo, e, o, a. And we use these to fill in the missing parts of some vocabulary words that we learned in the story. So now for this lesson, as you can see here, we're going to fill in a chart and think of some of our own words that have vowels in them. So first I want you to look at the left column there. There's a bunch of beginning words, and I want you to fill in words that start with those letters. So what's a word that starts with GR, BR, br, gr, STR, str? And I'm going to give you some time to think about this, and then we'll go down and I'll fill in some words for you if you're having a hard time. So go ahead and take a second and think about it. All right, so here were some words I found that start with these letters. We have great, break, straight, black, sprain, ain, small, skate, a, free, e, flow, long o, and glow, long o. So we had lots of different vowel sounds in there like EA, AI, A, E, and O. So we had a lot of different vowel sounds that you can incorporate with the beginning sounds. So next I want you to look at that center column. These are all middle sounds that we can add letters to make a word. So we have some middle sounds like A, I, E, And I want you guys to try and take a second and think about it, and think of what words you can make using those vowel sounds in the middle. I'll give you some time. All right, now I'll share with you some words that I came up with, and hopefully you guys thought of something similar, and you can use these if you were struggling a little bit to find a word. So first I found snail. Snail has that AI sound in it. Say, A, has that long A. High, fly a kite high in the sky, has that I sound in it. Seed, just like frog and toad planted seeds in the ground, is that double E vowel. Road is that OA, long O sound. Read, I read a book, has that EA sound. Rescue, is that U. Believe, this is a tough one because the IE sound. It sounds just like an E, but it's spelled a bit different with that IE. Cow is that long O, and crew, ooh, is that E sound. All right, so now I want you guys to look at that column all the way on the right. It's that last column. In this column, I want you to think of a word that ends with each of those letters. Some of them are pretty easy, because I know you know some words that end with ta, or ka. But some ones are harder, like w, w, and h, ha. So go through and see if you can come up with some words that end with these letters that have vowel sounds in them. Try to think back to frog and toad and see if you can think of some words that were used in there. And I'll catch up with you in a couple minutes, and we're going to try and fill in some of these words, and I will help you guys if you're struggling with any of those words. Alrighty, so I hope you guys were able to fill in some of these, but if you were struggling, I'm going to go through and give you some words to help you figure these out. For ending in T, I found coat. That has that long O-A sound, coat. Then I had bath, has that A sound. Bath, T-H, bath, and ends with an H. Next I had cow. We use this in our middle word sounds for that long O sound, cow. Lamp. Lamp ends in P and it has that sound, lamp. Rock. This has that weird O sound. We're using that O kind of weird in rock because it doesn't sound like our normal long O, but that is still a middle vowel sound. Alarm. Alarm. This has two vowels in it. It starts with a vowel and it has a middle vowel and it ends with Grab. We have that sound for A and it ends with B. Grab. Beef. This ends with F and it has a double E vowel in the middle. Beef. Roar. The dinosaur roars. This ends with R, and it has an OA vowel pattern in the middle. And our last one is dad, d-ad. This ends with a D and has the middle A sound. Alrighty, you guys did a great job following along. I hope you were able to brainstorm some vowel vocabulary, both in the beginning, middle, and end of some words. And thank you guys for following along.